What is it that you're looking to shift or change in your life? What do you feel that you're locked into that's not changing in the way you'd like it to? What do you feel like you're being kept away from or don't have access to about you or your life or control over things in your reality? Because that's what these tools give you the capacity to do. And when I found TaKeTiNa, which is what I want to introduce to you today, my body actually started to cry. I was watching this video of the founder of TaKeTiNa start to share what his modality does, and my body started to cry. I'm like, what is this? I had no clue. I had no clue what was going on, but body started crying. I'm like, okay, there's something here. And that caused me to dig in and start looking more deeply at what is this really cool thing called TaKeTiNa. And so I invited in today Nick Townsend from Sydney, Australia, to come talk with us and share what he knows about TaKeTiNa. Nick, how long, welcome by the way, first of all, welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
And how long have you been playing in, exploring with TaKeTiNa?
I've since 1996. I went to my first workshop in 1996, and I've been training since 1998. So a fair while now.
Wow. What was your attraction to TaKeTiNa? What grabbed you and brought you in?
Yes, when I first, I was actually introduced to TaKeTiNa through Reinhard Flatisla's music. I listened to his CDs. I was a musician at the time, and I heard his drumming, and I sensed there was something in his drumming that was it transcended normal reality. And it wasn't just a music for entertainment. I could sense that. And so I became interested on that level. And then I just decided to go to his workshop. He was coming to Australia, and as a musician, I was interested in learning to play a drum with him, like learning to play drums. That's what my intention was, going to the workshop.
And you got a little bit more than just learning to play drums, did you?
Well, yes. As I came into the workshop, we stood in a circle and started this rhythmic process that I didn't think at the time was really part of the main core of the process of the workshop. I thought it was just something on the side. So I'm there participating and patiently waiting for the time we're going to get on to some drums and play drums. and this process continued for, it was a 3-day workshop, and the first day went by and we're still doing this process in the middle with a circle of people clapping and stepping. And at a certain point, I became incredibly frustrated because I could not, even though I was a musician, I could not put one step on a pulse. There was there's a drum in the middle that's like a mother drum, and it has a pulsation, and I couldn't, for the life of me, put my step on the pulse. And this led to an incredible levels of frustration increasing in me. And by the halfway through the second day, I actually became very angry. I was angry with the people around me because everybody was throwing me off. I was angry with Reinhard. I was angry with everything. And at a certain point, I was actually ready to leave the workshop. And the frustration levels had reached to such a point. And then all of a sudden my step landed on the pulse. It locked into a pulsation on the drum, and not through me trying to do it, it just happened. And in this moment, all of a sudden, I looked down at my steps, and I remember just seeing my feet moving, and I wasn't moving them.
Yeah.
It was happening by itself, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that somehow my feet were moving to the rhythm exactly in time, and I wasn't doing it. I had no volition in it at all. There was no will involved. And I couldn't believe this, but when I looked up, all of a sudden I heard all the music in the room. I didn't realize until that moment that there was actually music in the room for all that time, for a whole day and a half. And then that led to this, I looked around, I also saw everybody's faces. I saw people's eyes. I saw people suffering. I saw people laughing. I saw the joy. I saw the fear. I saw everybody's reality. And it was like I woke up in that moment. Something in me woke up. And then the tears started to flow. I had tears just pouring out of me, and I could feel waves of love coming from, it wasn't just music hitting me, but it was love. I could feel love coming from the music. And I just dropped to the floor in tears. And I just, as I was laying there in the center, I cried for the whole journey. And you have to understand that I had no background in therapy, no background I was just a musician. And I laid there, and as I laid there and I was crying, I had no thoughts. There was no reason behind my tears. All there was just a flood of tears rolling down my face, and I was bawling like a baby. And there was this incredible deep peace inside me at the same time. And as the journey ended, and then that day actually ended, I went home and went to sleep where I was staying, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I woke up in a void. There was no body, there was no Nick. It was just consciousness witnessing itself. It was an incredible experience. And when I woke up in the morning, I was so in a state of peace. I walked through the city, the centre of Sydney, to get back to the workshop, and the traffic and the people all seemed very peaceful to me. Wow. Everything was peaceful. It was incredible. And this peace lasted for about 6 months.
Wow.
And my patterns did return. And that's what enabled me to go onto this path of learning TaKeTiNa, learning how to lead it, because I knew something I discovered something about life and about myself that I had to find back. I have to find that space back. And of course, TaKeTiNa actually is a process that really leads you there. It does lead you it has that potential to lead you there, to that level of opening.
And the experiences that people are having have just been, wow, I've just been absolutely blown away. And I want to share, I've actually met this week with a couple different people, and I'd like to share with you some of their experiences. They're just little snippets, couple minute long snippets, so you get a sense of what this actually is, what's possible here with this work.
I was in a drumming group of Africa. I was learning African and Afro-Cuban drumming, and he had encountered TaKeTiNa in Australia, and he heard that there was going to be a very rare and one of the first workshops in the United States in Oregon, and said, you need to do this, and I just took his word for it, and I did it. It was profound. it was completely out of my realm of experience. It did something to me, and other than a vague memory of just drifting on this cushion of rhythm and music and swirling melodies and people, and that's all I remember, just being out.
How did you notice your life was different after taking TaKeTiNa?
The first thing I noticed was this huge feeling of expansion, of everything, of space appearing between things. So even if my life were really busy and I had to do this, and this, these spaces opened up in between those events, and in that space there was a freedom to make decisions or to consider other possibilities, or to, it was just as if everything just was able to breathe finally. Yeah.
That's a common thing that people often talk about, is their, let me get the video here, is that there's just an expansion of awareness occurs that allows them to go to these other spaces and perceive more of what's really happening. And I want to introduce you to Justine, who's Nick's partner in TaKeTiNa.
I just knew that I was worrying about my flute audition, but yet my insides were completely drawn towards this thing that was happening. You know, it was out of my mind. I was in my body way more than what I'd ever experienced before. I remember entering into a state where I had pure joy come flooding through. That was a moment where I really connected on a very sensual level, like my steps, my voice, my claps were all locked into the rhythm of the group. And this flood of joy came through, and I just felt completely free of my mind. And my body felt great. And it's almost like I went into a different realm. You just jump, it's like a quantum leap into a different realm where you experience yourself and life in a way that you can't describe in words. Actually, it's just beyond words. It's bliss. It's not bliss. It's both. It's everything. Yeah. My vision had opened up more. Usually, you know, if you're walking around in your mind a lot, the blinkers go on. But no, my whole vision had opened up more as well. So I was taking a lot more information, and I wasn't pushing it away either. I was letting it in. Well, I went after the workshop. I directly went to the airport, and all of a sudden I felt my feet. Amongst all the hustle and bustle of the people in the airport and the noise going on around me, I could feel my feet as I walked along, and I heard them as well. And it was such an experience that I've never had before, and it really struck me. And then when I sat in my seat in the aeroplane, I looked up at all the people moving towards me as they're walking down the aisle, and there was all these different movements simultaneously going on. And instead of it overwhelming me, it was like the movements were impacting me in a very rhythmic way. And that was quite a profound moment that I'll never forget. Personal level, it was far more like, instead of being scared of people, you know, sometimes in public you can sort of like feel a bit like you want to just get away. Some people may not feel like that, but I did, especially at that time in my life. I allowed myself to look at someone and look at them in the eye, and they were just a human being. We were fellow human beings on this planet, and there was no I in you. And I could easily look around and see people.
Yeah. So it's like there's this container that gets access, the container that gets created that allows people to go to these deeper spaces of them and bring out more of their awareness and more of their ability to perceive, more of their ability to even connect with other people. The last interview that I want to show you, this clip here is from Tony.
I will admit, I went to this 3-day workshop with the founder of the work, Reinhard Flatischler. I took a notebook and pen thinking I'm going to get some fancy ideas about how to do rhythm or how to lead other people in rhythm. And of course, within minutes, I knew that that was not what this was about at all. And so it was a 3-day experience, very similar to what we're going to have in Adelaide. One of the things that's really nice is that I didn't know many people there, but through being present in the Takatina circle, it really feels like a community develops. It feels like you're being in some kind of ritual that that builds community. And so, you know, it was very touching being connected with people and seeing these people that I may not have even spoken to together, and feeling like you kind of know each other and you smile at each other across the circle. And so we did this stepping, clapping and singing stuff. And I guess one of the things I was surprised at was how fun, and that sounds cliched, but it was so exciting. It physically, I felt energized and up, and there was a joy that lasted quite some time. You know, there was a surprise of that lasting and staying with me.
So it's like everybody seems to have their own experience, and it seems to work in layers and levels. And but Nick, do you have a sense of what is actually going on when you're doing all this really cool stuff with drums and with people in a circle and sounds and movements and just very simple things? What is actually going on that creates such depth in people?
Yeah, it's the stepping and the clapping and is just the catalyst. It's not about stepping and clapping. It's actually not even about rhythm. The rhythm in the circle is just a catalyst that brings us into a meta state, into a state that's beyond relaxation, beyond being active, beyond being passive, beyond thinking, beyond even feeling. It's a meta state. And this meta state has been known for ancient cultures for millennia. It's a very healing state, and it's connected to, as I was saying to you earlier, it's connected to vagus tonus, which is a deeply healing state for your vagus nerve. And on the level of consciousness, on the level of the psychological, we're actually going beyond ego, beyond our limiting patterns of thought, our compulsive way of being, our normal way of being. And we sink deeper into their core self, basically.
Everybody has different experiences, but when I talk to, and I've interviewed, a dozen or so people this week, and what I noticed that was common in all the interviews that I did was that the general outcome was starting from a space of less awareness and less connection to self into an increasing, like they may not have had words for it, but you can hear when they talk about what opened up in their reality, they could perceive more, they were aware of more things. Do you have a sense of what's going on or what's occurring that actually creates that?
Takatina starts from the premise that you don't learn rhythm. We're not learning rhythm. We're awakening rhythm. And so all we're doing, actually, the rhythm or the intelligence already is inside us. And so all we're doing is removing what's in the way of the rhythmic intelligence surfacing. And what gets in the way of the rhythmic intelligence is the same thing that gets in the way of your inner peace, the same thing that gets in the way of your intuitive intelligence in your life. And so removing that surface layer to access the rhythmic intelligence, you're also removing all that surface layer that also gets in the way of your relationships, that gets in the way of your own inner peace. That's how it works. It's very simple, but it's a profound experience when you're in it.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit more about. I do a lot of work with people in. What I noticed for me is what locks people in their box, in their small reality, what locks people in their space of not being able to perceive what's really going on in their reality, what's going on in the world, or even be able to tap into their own inner gifts and abilities and capacities, are these fixed polarities, these fixed viewpoints, these locked in, I'll call them polarities, where they keep juggling back and forth between these different viewpoints, that this is right, no, this is wrong, no, this is right. And the chaos that's involved in that. And like, once you clear that space, all of a sudden there's, it just reveals the awareness and the truth of you that actually has always been there, but has kind of gotten blocked off or locked away. In your in the process of engaging Takatina, how do you work with polarity? How does that work?
Yes, in Takatina we might put a shaker in this hand, and then do another rhythm with a clicker here in this hand. So, and two different rhythms. So they're like polarities then. Or for example, we might actually do something like, while you're in rhythm, you're relaxing your right hand, and at the same time you're active with your left hand, or vice versa. And so you're bringing polarities together. You're bringing together active and passive within one field of awareness. Another way we work with polarities is we could work with speaking and listening. So when you're speaking a rhythm, somebody else speaks a completely different rhythm, or speaks normally, and at the same time, so you're speaking and listening at the same time, that activates different pathways in your brain simultaneously. And so what you find is that when you bring one polarity together, whether it's active and passive, or focus and relaxation, when you bring one polarity together, you're actually merging all polarities within yourself. So, and the most common polarity that tortures all of us is past and future. And when we bring these polarities together, actually past and future dissolve, and you find yourself in the space of here and now.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate space where intelligence exists.
Yeah. The spaces that I've just had like sampling things with Takatina, and the different patterns, it's like I get into this flow thing for a while, and I'm like, yeah, I got it. And then that thought of, yeah, I got it, throws me out, because I'm engaging thought rather than, it's almost like I'm stepping out of, like, I can't do it with my mind. I have to actually just step away, and in my languaging, like allow my body, the intelligence of my body, to just do that and not interfere with it, but be present to it, be present with it. And it's really when my mind comes in and or a thought comes in, or I question something, or I notice something that kind of throws me, that it throws me just out of pattern temporarily, and then I kind of get back. But I notice that gets easier. Like I go out of pattern and I come back, and then it's easier next time. What is actually occurring when that easier, it gets easier and easier and easier as you go along?
There's a couple of things in what you said. One is you're saying that you can't use your mind to be in the rhythm. It's not entirely accurate. We actually have to find a place where because you do need your rational mind in TaKeTiNa. You can't do TaKeTiNa without thinking. But if your thinking overrides sensing, then you're in trouble. That's where you lose it. That's where you lose it. So it's about bringing these polarities together within yourself, being able to think, use your intuitive intelligence, your heart, because it needs to be spontaneous as well. And at the same time, use your instinct, your body's instinct. And it's because if you just use your body's instinct, you'll go into sort of random rhythms. Your body will just do random. So your mind needs to be, okay, I want to go here on this pattern. But at the same time, you've got to allow your body's instinct to express itself. So these two realities have to come together. So that's one aspect of what you talk about. But there's another aspect, which is the chaos. You're saying you're falling out and coming back, and it gets easier and easier. This pattern actually is one of the deepest transformational aspects of the process. We have a cultural conditioning that we've learnt through our schooling system, mainly, to fear making mistakes, to fear losing it. And TaKeTiNa transforms this pattern. It's like a collective unconscious conditioning we have in our culture. And because in TaKeTiNa chaos and order exist simultaneously, we have a mother drum in the middle, a pulsation that's very simple and very nurturing. And at the same time, you have this layer of chaos happening, alternating back and forth, always. Sometimes it's chaotic and other times it goes into order. And every time a chaos phase comes, the order continues, this pulsation continues, the mother drum continues. And this gives people the opportunity to transform this fear of making mistakes, this fear of losing it, in a very safe place. And what people find is that when they fall back into rhythm, if they fall out of rhythm, they fall back in on a deeper level. It's a self-organizational process. And falling back in on a deeper level is an expression of your deeper intelligence, the deeper rhythmic intelligence starting to surface. And so as that for those phases of chaos and order alternate, the more times you do that, and each time voices surface like, oh, I can't do this, or voices of doubt and fear surface, they get transformed because you fall back into the rhythm on a deeper level, and you start to realize, oh, falling out is not so bad. It's actually good. Yeah. It's a powerful transformative process. And ultimately where that leads, it leads to learning that surrendering to not knowing is the fastest way to knowing on a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that paradox.
Yeah. It is a paradox. Learning, you learn to, it's actually learning to You find it by losing it. It's a paradox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, if you showed that video of the pendulums at this moment,
Yes.
it would be good.
Yes. Okay. So let me do that. So this is actually a video of the founder. Can you pronounce his name for us?
Reinhard Flatischler.
Reinhard Flatischler.
Flatischler.
Who's doing a presentation, and this is on the internet, and I strongly recommend, if this is interesting to you, to take a look at that interview. It just blew me away. But this clip, I'll just play it. I'll stop talking.
In nature, chaos and order are in collaboration. Is this rhythm? Yeah, it's rhythm, of course. Is this chaos? Yes, it's chaos. Same image. Now, you will find that chaos needs certain circumstances that it can help us. And one of it is that order and chaos can happen at the same time. Now, that's how we usually have it in daily life. We rather like order, but no chaos. Because have you ever thought why, when nature has used chaos and order in alternation and in collaboration, ever since universe is there, why don't we have chaos and order in our educational system? Why we insist on order, abandoning the other side? This is a metronome and another metronome, very much feared by musicians because they insist on a tempo. Now they're set on different tempos, so they run in different rhythms. But we add two things: connection and flexibility. So what they do is they go in chaos phases and back into order phases, and then back again into chaos phases, and back into order phases. And you see that the chaos phases get smaller, the order phases get longer, and all of a sudden, the impossible happens. Two metronomes set on different tempos say, okay, we don't insist anymore, we synchronize in a new tempo together. That will go on as long as this metronome is running. They have met on something both didn't have before, through two ingredients: connection and flexibility. So what does that mean for us?
And that video blew me away. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just talking about. I don't know whether people could see that because the video was actually breaking up a bit. But the metronomes went through chaos phases where they were like going in separate directions, and then they would lock in, and then they locked into a phase together. And then they would break up again into chaos, and then lock in again. And each time they locked in for a longer duration, until finally they went into their last chaos phase and then locked in and stayed locked in together into synchronization. And that's exactly what we are dealing with in TaKeTiNa. We run the process in exactly this fashion. We allow chaos to happen while there's and what we do is we encourage flexibility, and the flexibility is allowing things to fall apart, allowing mistakes to happen, we encourage people to really surrender to the chaos. And the connection is consciousness. The connection is staying present. And we have tools for that in the process. One of them is the rhythmic voice, which maintains presence in people and connection. And what actually is the outcome, as as Reinhard said, it requires flexibility and connection for chaos to happen, for this process of synchronization to take place. Well, the result for humans is that as we expose ourselves for a given period to this type of process, each time the chaos phases come, a little bit of rigidity is shed from us each time.
Yeah.
Mental, emotional, and physical rigidity is shed from our being. And the more times we allow this chaos phase to move through us, we become more and more flexible on many layers, on the psychological, on the emotional, and on the physical layers of our being. And of course, this leads to big openings. That's always, as you shed that rigid patterns, it always leads to expansion of consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah. And my experience with this whole process has been one of, like, the last experience that we had, the little sample that we did, I just left it in this almost dazed space where I have no clue what actually just happened, but I left feeling happy for no reason. I just, I have no clue what I let go of, but I just felt happy for no reason. And I was like, wow, and that just keeps unfolding. There's just more layers, and it goes deeper and deeper. And I haven't even experienced a full 3-day experience yet, which is one of the reasons why when I'm in a couple weeks going to be heading to Adelaide, Australia, and I'm going to be meeting with Nick and Justine, and we're going to put on this program mostly because Jaden's coming there, and darn it, I want to experience this, a whole 3-day thing. What is a 3-day experience like?
We structure the process like an arc, like this. So you start here in a very simple place, and we go through a journey together over the 3 days, and then it lands at a place, in another place. And from this point to this point, by the time you get to the end of the 3 days, your life will feel different.
Yeah.
You actually enter into, it's like going through a door into another room. And it's a room of timelessness. Time changes, your perception of time changes. And often what I experience, and everybody else says the same thing, is that 3 days feels like 2 weeks. And what your memory of your life before is a distance. Gives you a big distance from your life, and it's like a reset. It can reset you. You can re-enter your life in a new way. And of course, new pathways have been created. And what you can expect throughout the whole weekend is a very nurturing space. It's you don't have to be a musician, although it's very powerful for musicians to experience this process. But there's no need to be a musician, because we use our body and we use the natural intelligence, the innate intelligence that's inside us already. And there is no rhythms to learn. Your body already knows everything we do in the workshop. And you are guided bit by bit into that intelligence over the whole weekend, progressively. Yeah. And interestingly, by, say, Sunday morning, people, whether you're a truck driver or a hairdresser, you will experience doing complex rhythmic realities that can take up to 40 years for a normal musician to learn. And you will experience that. I do it every workshop. Everybody, no matter who's there, will experience connecting to complex rhythmic realities that would normally take 40 years to learn. And that's because we go into a non-linear learning process. You bypass all that need to understand things rationally, and you just connect to your body's intelligence, the intelligence that's inside your consciousness somewhere. We don't know really where it exists. It exists somewhere.
It's in there. I want to share two more little clips that I have from first Tony, who's actually going to be in Adelaide. He's a local person who lives in Adelaide, so you're going to get to meet Tony.
So if there's something that sparked an interest there, whether it's like me, you come from an angle of music and rhythm, or whether you come from I want to have fun, or whether you come from I'd like a mindfulness or meditation type experience that's different to the one I've had. There are so many different entrance points. It's something that will hold that for you and more. So it's a multi-layered experience, and it's maybe I'm saying something that I'll just say it might not be for everyone. I've seen people come and then thanks, that was a nice experience, but it didn't get me. But I think for many people it does become something of significance or delight or playfulness. And as we keep saying, it's like many of these disciplines or experiences that in the end you don't know what it's going to be like for you until you have a go. So and with this experience coming up in Adelaide, where there's 3 days, that's also a really great opportunity, because it allows over time for you to sink deeper and deeper. And so we often see people who on the Friday night might be really struggling, or they may not even know themselves, but in their body they're really trying or whatever. By the end of the 3rd day, their faces look different, the way they hold their body is different, and often deeply moved. So a 3-day experience is a fantastic opportunity.
And as a person myself who is deeply into the concept of transformation, that's just really exciting. I'm like, whoa, I want some more of that. The last video clip that I'd like to play for you is Deborah's kind of wrapping up.
It was a real wake-up call. It was a real, I feel like when I began this whole journey, I was pretty unconscious. And, I won't say where I am now, but I'm further along. What I experienced in Takatina was recognition. So when you're in the circle, like I said, what you experience in the circle is what your life is outside the circle. And through the lens of Takatina, I was really able to focus on recognizing me and who I am, not who I could be or who I should be, but who I am, because that's all I need to be. That's perfect. And to recognize it is a huge piece. And the second piece through Takatina is acceptance of that. And I think if you can really embrace recognizing who you are and accepting who you are, that is the transformation. There's no other part to it. You're already there. So, you know, of course we're all still working on it, but I really feel far along, and I really bless Takatina for that path.
Yeah.
You know, anyone out there who's considering doing it, just do it. You know, just jump. It's completely safe. Nothing can go wrong there. Just try it. And not everyone likes it. Not everyone gets value from it. But those of us who do and have, oh my God, you know, a life changer. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And Nick, have you noticed like what people do seem drawn to TaKeTiNa and do seem to find value in TaKeTiNa?
Yeah, it's usually people who recognize that they have blocks. They're blocked in their life. You know, if you feel that there are patterns in yourself that need to transform, that are getting in the way of your relationships, that are getting in the way of your work, getting in the way of your performance, if you're a musician or an artist, patterns that are getting in the way of your being at peace, you know. If you feel that, and you're frustrated with transforming those things, those patterns, TaKeTiNa is a way to do that. It absolutely will. If you immerse yourself in the process, you will get results on those levels.
We've actually got a website for people who are interested in signing up. We have an event that we're bringing Nick and Justine and Tony and me and some other friends together for a weekend circle on October 23rd, 24th, 25th. And this is in, I believe it's right in the city of Adelaide. Corinna, are you on the line? Corinna's also
Yes, I am.
on our team. Corinna's been doing all the plans behind the scenes. Where's the venue being held at?
It is right in the city, Jaden, at the Irish Club.
The Irish Club.
Beautiful hall. Yes, it's a beautiful hall that will support this process beautifully.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you for all of your efforts in pulling all this together in the last minute. And this has been
You're welcome.
Absolutely magical getting everybody together here. And so you can go to http://tinyurl.com/Adelaide123, and that will take you to the page. If you've signed up on any of the email lists, you'll get an email that has a link, so you won't have to remember that. If you're just watching the video and you didn't sign up for anything anywhere along the line, then you'll want to write this down: tinyurl.com/Adelaide123. And Tony, do you have any kind of closing thoughts before we go into questions, things that you'd like to respond to or talk about?
No, I think if we got some questions, that would be great.
Cool. So
we'll go into that.
Well, let's do questions. So if you're on mute, you can unmute yourself. If you're in chat, you can type it in the chat box. Anybody have a question for?
Yeah, I do, Jaden. It's Shamari.
Hi.
I've always, all of my life, felt as though I'm out of rhythm and out of sync with everybody. I'm a little bit ambidextrous, and when doing group things, I'm always doing exactly opposite or out of sync with everybody else. So I kind of feel that this process will be really valuable for me. What's your comments on that, Nick?
My comment is that that's the perfect reality to be approaching TaKeTiNa with. Many people, including myself, I came to the first workshop, even though I was a musician, once I actually got in the process, I was completely in chaos, and I couldn't put one clap or one step on the pulse. Often people who feel they have no rhythm are the ones that actually find that they have rhythm on the deepest level in the process.
Yeah. And just thanks, that's great. Another comment I just wanted to make when they're looking at those pendulums and metronomes getting into balance. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was in Queensland, and I was staying at this retreat where there were like hundreds of tree frogs. And at night, laying in bed, they would all be kind of croaking in rhythm, and then they would go into some sort of chaotic thing, which was like, you know, running your fingernail down the chalkboard, and then they'd get back into rhythm again, which is exactly what, you know, those metronomes are doing. But the curious thing, in the morning, I got up and I said to the other participants, you know, did anybody hear that or notice that? But nobody else seemed to. And that was kind of, I thought, oh, what was all of that about?
Yeah, well, you're recognizing, or you're witnessing one of the most powerful processes that our universe has. And that process of the alternation of chaos and order is what's created our cosmos. And it's the principle behind all creation. And so it's also a process that if we make friends with it, it can transform your life on a very deep level.
Thanks.
So as your experience, it's in nature. So, you know, all animals naturally do it, part of that process. We're the only animals that actually resist that natural reality.
And do you think that when we were young, we actually had all of this stuff and we were conditioned out of that?
Absolutely. As I said at the beginning, it's a conditioning. The pattern to resist chaos or to brace against making mistakes. We call it making mistakes, but it's actually chaos. That conditioning, that's a conditioning. When we're young, we're flexible. We don't even know about the concept of making mistakes, but we're taught that there's a right and a wrong. And then we start to brace against that. We start to fear the wrong, and we think there's a right way, and then it becomes very problematic.
Yeah. Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask Nick?
Hi, Nick, it's Sheila. I'm wondering about people who have problems with joints or back problems, and you're smiling. What do you know?
What I hear you saying is you have joint pain and back pain.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're human and you live on this planet, pain is going to be part of your experience. And so it's a very common thing that people bring to TaKeTiNa. And TaKeTiNa is an incredibly expansive and accommodating process. And on one level, it's very challenging. And on another level, it's incredibly nurturing. You always have the opportunity to lie down in the center of the circle or outside the circle and just let the process work on you on a very passive level. And that can be a very healing state, a very healing experience. Some people actually spend the whole weekend lying down and experiencing the process in a passive state. And often for some people that can be where they learn and get the most out of the process. And the physical pain, TaKeTiNa opens, it generates flexibility in your body. And it generates flexibility of your mind, emotions, and your body. And so a lot of pain in our body is a result of rigidity. We brace against the pain. We might have the original pain, but then we actually brace against the original pain, and then it becomes like a chronic feedback loop. And so if we can find any sort of process that can break up that rigid pattern, the loop, then we can break the pain cycle. And TaKeTiNa is proven in pain therapy to be able to do that. So what you experience by stepping and clapping with Reinhard on a video is not going to be anywhere near like what it will be like in a workshop. So yes, your back would have tensed up because you don't have the live energetic field there that you're being guided by.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
And actually, Reinhard's done a lot of work and research in pain clinics, wasn't it, or hospitals, with patients who had extreme pain, and they were able to reduce medication. What was that again? How that worked?
By 50 to 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually saw that somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Sheila. Anybody else have questions?
It's Nikki Fort here.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi. Firstly, thank you. Thank you for this, and thank you to Corinna. I am a musician and singer. I'm a sound healer. I've been a percussionist. I've done a lot of shamanic work and movement rituals and stuff. And I've been looking for something like this for quite a while. It feels to me like the further I get away from this kind of practice, the more my body hurts. And these last couple of months there's been a lot of pain. And just as you're speaking, it's lifting off me, because this is exactly what, there's the excitement in my body when it finds something on a soul level that goes, yeah, I'm so there, guys. Thank you for bringing this to Adelaide. We often get left off of circuits here. And I've done work with 5 rhythms, you know, the Gabriel Roth work, and I've done work with the 5 elements, which is much more ritualized. And this just feels like, I don't know, as we're talking about it, the energetic field is soft and gentle and wild and crazy at the same time, which I love. I love the whole attachment, or not the attachment, but the inclusion of those drumming rhythms, which are the sound, the voice, all of those things are so much in line with a lot of what's been my life's work, but I've kind of fallen off the path, it feels like, the last while. But apparently not, because here we are talking about this wonderful work.
Yeah.
So thank you, and I look forward to being there and spending this time with you all. And I'll be putting this out to my network as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of us here are doing ritual dance and dance for healing and movement, more than dance. But I'm sure there are some people I can pass this on to who'll be very interested. And it's so affordable.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Cheers. That's what I want to say. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Woo!
Yay.
Thank you.
So, Nick, did you have anything else that we're kind of out of time at the moment? Is there anything else that you want to kind of wrap up with, or summarize, or talk about?
No, I think that we covered everything. It's been a good experience. I think people have, they've heard a lot of different perspectives, and we've covered a fair amount of information. So there's not much more to be added, really.
Yeah.
Come and experience it. It's powerful. It really does transform. And We'll see you there.
Thank you, Nick, for for sharing with us today and for the work that you do and your enthusiasm and your awareness, and just the magic that you spin as you do your thing with rhythm, that transforms on a really deep level. I am so excited. I am so ready for my first 3-day, and very much looking forward to it. Adelaide, Australia, October 23rd, 24th, 25th. And there's the thing again. Thank you for joining us, Nick. And
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Aloha or bye-bye.
Aloha.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.